Story recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain a horror, romance, sci-fi film called Spring. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. After his father died of a heart attack, Evan Russell, a miserable young man, now takes care of his dying mother, who was diagnosed with cancer months after his father died. One night, when Evan checks his mother, she asks him how he was doing and even mentions a joke, hoping to make him laugh. Evan smiles, but he suddenly notices that she's not breathing while still staring at him, causing him to mourn and bid his final farewells to her, even if it's too late. The next day, following his mother's funeral, Evan grieves with his only friend, Tommy, at a restaurant he's working in. Evan excuses himself from his friend when suddenly a drunk man taunts him, accusing Evan of trying to hit his girl. Tommy tries to appease the drunken man by giving him a cigarette, but the drunk man grabs an empty bottle, attempting to hit Tommy's head. Evan then brutally beats him to the ground, causing him to lose his job. Despite his pleadings not to be dismissed, his pleas are ignored, though a friendly coworker promises to persuade the boss to reconsider his decision. That evening, Evan decides to go home with Tommy to continue drinking and grieving for his mom's loss and job. While they talk about his plans, they realize that the drunk man followed them on their way home. The man threatens him that he will press charges against Evan, especially since he knows where Evan is living. Evan considers leaving the city, fearful of being sued or attacked further down the road, and without a job or family. Tommy encourages him to spend the night with a girl, ending him with a blonde woman despite his initial reluctance. However, the woman leaves after discovering that Evan has no romantic feelings for her following all they've been through. After a long period of intoxication, Evan awakens by the knocks on his door, and when he looks out the window he sees the cops. Thinking that there's no one home, the cops leave. Evan then takes advantage of his opportunity to flee by booking a blind flight to Italy. When Evan arrives in Italy, he drinks and befriends two friendly drinkers named Tom and Sam, and they smoke pots. Evan's life is peaceful for the next few days as he enjoys the beautiful scenery while on a road trip with his new friends. When Evan and his friends arrive in a nearby town, he notices a bewitchingly beautiful young woman named Louise, who gazes at him as well, forming an instant bond. Later that day, while Evan hangs out with his friends at a nearby tavern, he runs into Louise again and decides to introduce himself. However, she rushes him and asks him to leave his friends and drink with her instead. Evan is surprised and delighted by her sudden interest in him, but he keeps his cool and invites her out tomorrow night. Louise leaves him at the counter bar, causing his friends to tease him. The following morning, Tom and Sam decide to go to Amsterdam and ask Evan if he wants to join them, but he declines, stating that he will stay in Italy, hoping for a fresh start. Later that day, Evan moves around the town to find a job and a place to stay until he comes across a flyer leading to a local farm, which offers a room in return for work. He then heads to the local farm and meets its owner, Angelo, who instantly hires him and shows him the space. Evan quickly befriends his boss as he casually inquires about Angelo's wife, who he discovers died of a car accident. Afterward, Evan walks along in an alley and coincidentally runs into Louise again, taking the opportunity to ask Louise out with him after she initially declines. As Louise heads into an art museum, Evan follows her while they're continuously conversing as if they already know each other for months. Inside the museum, Evan discovers that Louise is a student studying evolutionary genetics while getting paid. They come across a painting with a naked woman in it, and Louise asks what Evan thinks about it, to which he responds that she looks hot. Feeling uninterested, Evan invites Louise to go out and eat at a restaurant. That night, they go out to dinner and get to know each other better. Evan learns that Louise has traveled the globe and dated several different men, none of whom she could handle. He jokingly writes her a love letter, which she had asked him to write for her before they could get a bottle of wine, and when she reads it, it makes her smile. While they're drinking wine, Evan shares about himself, and Louise compliments him for trying new stuff here in Italy despite no assurance. A little while later, they go to a balcony near a shore, enjoying each other's company. Louise reveals that she has a hard time believing in God and that there's a lot of mystery out there, including herself to herself. She tells him that she's half undiscovered science with lots of confusing biochemistry and some crazy hormones, which Evan finds confusing, and just tells her a funny story, leading him to kiss her. They kiss on their way to a motel until finally, they reach inside the room and end up having intercourse. Evan pulls out a condom, but she snatches it from his grasp before they continue. At midnight, Louise awakens as a monster and flees the motel, devouring a cat on the way out. She changes into an unknown creature and even burns her skin under the sunlight, but she injects some medication to slow down the process and retains her human appearance. On the other hand, Evan wakes up alone and heads into the local farm to start his day at work while Angelo patiently guides him. Later that day, after his work, Evan goes out for a short walk, hoping to run into Louise again. Fortunately, they're living in a small town and he soon meets Louise at a local store. Louise pulls a prank on him, pretending she can't remember who he was. Evan starts to doubt the night they spent together when suddenly Louise laughs and comforts Evan. They spend the afternoon together as they walk through the alleys while eating gelato and enjoying each other's company. Later that night, Louise invites Evan into her apartment. While Louise cooks their dinner, Evan bothers her about her work while playing with her rabbits, which she rescued from the laboratory experiment. When Evan decides to play music, he realizes that Louise can communicate in various languages since her phone has many multilingual songs. As Louise joins Evan on the couch, she snatches his cigarette, asking him to quit it, and prompting him to call her a hypocrite. However, when Louise stands to check their meal, she notices that she's starting to transform again. She asks Evan to watch over their food while she showers. Inside the bathroom, she begins a painful transformation into a horrific monster. Her vertebral column extends, and her skin is covered with hair, which explains why several scientific books and charts are all over her place. After the slight transformation, she manages it through her medication, preventing her from fully transforming. However, Evan finishes the soup, and they eat dinner together. Evan asks her to go to the beach with him, but she declines, telling him about her skin condition. Evan then realizes they will be seeing each other at night. The following day, Evan wakes up with Louise beside him on the couch. She kisses her goodbye, telling her she needs to work. When he visits the bathroom to pee, he notices a syringe on the floor, causing him to doubt her. The next day, while working with Angelo, Evan learns a lot about farming. They have a friendly talk about women, in which Angelo says that Italian women are the best, to which Evan protests that there are many beautiful women in the USA as well. Evan also shares that he's dating someone who he finds strange sometimes. Later that day, Evan and Louise have dinner again in a nearby restaurant when suddenly, Evan confronts Louise about the syringe. She explains that she uses it to inject herself for medication and assures him that she's not a junkie, nor has any STD. Evan seems relieved and asks if he can take a picture with her on his phone. However, when she inquires about his family, he becomes agitated and refuses to discuss it with her, calling the waiter's attention to take a picture of them. Louise seems uncomfortable about taking a photo, trying to avoid looking at the camera. The image captures a blurred photo of them, and Louise asks him to share something about his family. Still, he refuses to share, and when he is about to capture her on his phone, Louise walks out and heads to the shore nearby. An argument ensues as Louise thinks that he will brag about banging a foreign woman to his friends and that he can't be intimate when she's only asking about his family. Evan later explains that his mother died of cancer last week, shortly after his father passed away. Evan also tells her that he felt worthless because he couldn't help his family, believing he's wasting his life. Louise points out that he shares Batman's backstory to light up the mood and even tells him that she likes him. Louise then reveals to Evan that she has two different eye colors, which she hides through contact lenses to make herself appear more attractive. He questions her honesty, but she replies that she has never lied to him. The following day, while Evan is amazed by a hybrid tree fruiting lemon and orange simultaneously, Louise discovers that, despite her medications, her mutation is becoming uncontrollable. She then walks into a cave while slowly transforming and performs a strange ritual by painting symbols using the rabbit's blood into the walls to stop the process, but it doesn't seem to work. She ends up eating the rabbit, causing her to maintain her human form after some shredding. That night, Evan visits Louise in her apartment like usual, but he finds her sick and exhausted and tries to cheer her up. He stays for a while to take care of her. One morning, Angelo gives Evan a break. He then invites Angelo to go fishing, but Angelo declines because he has something to do. Evan then spends most of the morning alone and walks around the town. He finds an American guy making a scene near the shore until Evan decides to do something for Louise. He heads into the art museum and buys a book, to which he writes letters for her. Louise then shows up and invites him to somewhere only a few people know. That afternoon, while Evan rows the boat, Louise sings aloud as no one seems to hear her anyway. They paddle into a cave with crystal clear water in it. The two seem to get closer and closer each day as they kiss under the tunnel and playfully joke around. They have dinner later, but Louise's skin condition worsens, and she abruptly leaves, telling him she needs to work early tomorrow. On her way home, a man sees her in pain, stalking her, and tries to molest her, thinking that she's intoxicated. However, when he's about to push himself into her, she transforms into a beast and instantly kills him. His body stays on the shore, with his genitals missing. The following day, Angelo pulls Evan aside and has a heart-to-heart talk with him. As they speak, Evan realizes how Angelo loves his late wife as he refuses to date a single woman at church. However, Angelo commends him for getting fluent in Italian and telling him that Evan should keep safe, for he is working as an illegal immigrant and that the cops will be after him soon. Evan goes to Louise's house because he has nowhere else to turn, but he finds her worried. She tells him to leave and forget about her because she needs to focus on her work without distraction when the truth is she fears his safety from her monstrous alter ego. Evan tries to talk her out of those thoughts, telling her that he's willing to give her time and space if she wants, but Louise sticks to her decision. Evan feels devastated as he cannot believe why Louise is suddenly kicking her out. Before leaving, he bids his final words for her, confessing his love even if they only met 5 days ago. Evan begs to reconsider her choice. He reluctantly leaves, injuring his hand by punching a brick wall on his way out. Evan returns to her the next day, feeling distressed and intoxicated, hoping Louise could not possibly mean what she said. When he hears noises inside and peeks of blood all over the floor, he pushes the door open and finds her in a corrupt state of mutation into a tentacled reptilian creature, much to his horror. As Evan tries to understand the situation, he notices Louise reaching for a syringe, so the terrified man frantically gives her an injection. As soon as Louise comes back from her human form, she asks Evan to prepare a shower for her. A little while later, Evan confronts her if she is a werewolf, vampire, witch, or alien, asking her to explain her condition to him. When she refuses to explain it to him, he storms off, but Louise chases him down, explaining that she's a 2,000-year-old mutant, showing the painting she posed for thousands of years ago. Louise discloses that she's pregnant, and the embryonic cells heal her and maintain her age, but once she gets pregnant, Louise transforms into a new body, which needs to happen every 20 years. On the other hand, Evan realizes that Louise used him to get pregnant and then dumps him, but Louise tells him that she had to hurt him emotionally to protect him from herself physically. He then inquires about her medications, to which she responds that she uses the adult stem cells from other living organisms like her rabbits. Evan leaves to clear his head, feeling overwhelmed, used, and betrayed. He tries to call Tommy for advice and gets no response. However, when he sees Angelo praying for his ex-wife, Evan realizes how much he loves Louise. Once he's calmed down, Evan reunites with Louise and tells her that despite everything, he's willing to be with her. Louise then reveals that if she falls in love with someone, her body will produce a chemical that will prevent her from transforming, and she will lose her immortality as a result. He asks if she would be willing to give up her immortality for him, but Louise declines, saying that she will become someone else in less than 24 hours. Evan then persuades her to spend her last day on a road trip before she re-evolves. Still, she refuses, claiming that she is powerless to control the transformation. On the other hand, when the immigration officers arrive, she changes her mind and assists him in escaping. They ride in Louise's car and drive away from the town. They set off to Naples and spend the entire night talking. The following day, they continue discussing and kissing as they genuinely cherish the moments left. Evan tries to persuade her to choose him over immortality from time to time, to which Louise responds through kisses until Evan mentions that he never visited a church before. The two enter the church and discuss science and religion when suddenly, Louise begins to transform in bizarre but amusing ways that even the person in front of them thought that she's a zombie taking a heroin shot. A little while later, they visit a museum. It turns out that Louise has been posing for painting for years, revealing that the portrait in Italy was her first human form. They then head into a place where it used to be a bomb shelter during World War II, where Evan asks more about her condition and tells her that if she stays with him, he will give up smoking too. Louise tells him the consequences of staying with him, to which he justifies every concern. Louise then randomly changes into a monster. With the last shot taken, she warns Evan to step away from her before it's too late. However, Evan insists on staying with her. In the early morning, nearing her re-evolvement, she takes him to the ruins of Pompeii, where Louise tells him about her family history, who died from a volcanic eruption. Her voice returns to its natural tone when she then reveals that she inherited her strange ability from her mother and her pain threshold is still in the process during that time, so she survived the lava. Louise tells Evan that she doesn't want to die or watch anyone die, so Louise chose to continue in different bodies every 20 years rather than stay with someone. Evan then realizes why she doesn't want to be with him and assures her that he will miss Louise. She becomes increasingly terrified of the creature she may turn into, knowing that she could kill Evan, so she hands him a bottle of wine as a weapon and advises him to flee for his life if things get bad. As the time comes, Evan makes one last attempt at begging Louise, assuring her that becoming mortal is good and she wouldn't feel lonely anymore. Louise lies down on his lap, asking him to talk more about the finite time. Feeling scared and broken, Evan describes his world, experiences, and positive aspects of human life. While his voice stutters by hearing the grotesque sounds of her transformation, he refuses to look at her and continues talking. However, as the sun rises, Evan summons the courage to look at Louise, and he notices that she remains her human form while still calm and determined. She holds his hands and looks at him in total admiration. Towards the end, when Evan accepts that she would lose Louise, he is also certain that his life might end as he refuses to abandon her. However, Louise chose to stay with him, giving up her immortality. Indeed, their story applies the saying love knows no boundaries. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.